Hey everybody, NFL algorithm update. It's really starting to come together. NFL algorithm getting exciting. I always enjoy working on these in the beginning of the season. It's fun because you really get to organize all the players. And a lot of this video, I'm going to explain how to organize your players and get reasonable projections. But it's just kind of fun early on. Everything starts to burn out in the long run, but it's fun to do it in the beginning. So we're going to talk about if you purchase this file or if you just want to subscribe. I'm really happy that that I do get I do get a lot of requests about this file all the time, and so I want to thank everyone who supported this. I mean, it's expensive for the entire season, for $300, but you're getting my work every week to update everything. And this video kind of shows you what I'm doing every week to get this as accurate as possible. And you get private videos, and I'm not going to be predicting games the way I'm showing this in the preseason. Doing a private video, which will probably be released after all the games are over, to show you how it did and what we read into the file as I continue to work on this. But watch how cool this is and what we're able to do now. So I was looking through preseason week 2's results. And we're going to talk about the Monday night game between Washington and Baltimore specifically and how to adjust for it. So not a terrible week. It says 7-8, but it's really 7-6-2 because there were two draws, two ties between Philadelphia and Cleveland, and one between Cincinnati and Atlanta that we actually had predicted as a tie. It ended up being a tie. So how about that? So not necessarily all that bad. Chicago blew a game to Indianapolis, but I mean, it was okay in a lot of ways. Now, what's going on here involves the projection pivot sheet. And the projection pivot sheet shows each player's contribution and who's playing, like who we have scheduled on all the depth charts. You end up updating the depth charts for QBs, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and kickers. All 5 of these positions. Grab this. This gives you the most current look of players and their injury status. And with that information, you have an all list of players and how much you want to have their contribution be. Well, getting this projection pivot sheet to be as accurate for the game as possible is a goal of this file, and it makes it work the best. So how do we do this? Because it takes a while. Now, what I've already done is I've already fixed kickers, meaning I made sure that we didn't have 2 kickers on one team, and I gave teams that had a kicker with no stats last year at least a 0.6. I did that by manually overriding their percentage here. Like I applied a 0.6 to Jake Moody, to Matt Gay, to Brandon Aubrey, to Anders Carlson. Now, that is the bare minimum that you would give a kicker. Indianapolis already had one that was a 0.6. So I gave them the bare minimum because we just didn't have any stats for them. And a couple of teams had duplicate kickers. I removed them from this list by looking and seeing, like, if you have Rodrigo Blankenship in here, all of a sudden Tampa Bay has a 1.34 kicker rating, which cannot be right. So one of these guys has to go because they have 2 kickers with stats last year. So I removed one of them. That all affects scoring. It's really important to do that to get your kickers right. So this is a nice distribution of kickers. All right. Well, good. We did kickers. Now, what do we do for like quarterbacks? You can see we have a huge range of quarterbacks here. Like the Chargers only have a 0.08. Why is that? I'll tell you why. Herbert has a rating. He just ends up like screwing up or throwing a lot of interceptions or something. You can see that some of his ratings as a rusher and as a receiver are unbelievably terrible. Like he did some weird things last year. And when you look at his stats, which you can see them in a couple different places, but when you look at Herbert's stats, here's what happens with Herbert. So I've got a quarterback score, a running back score, and a receiving score, meaning during the game, the quarterback ran sometimes, which contributes to their running back score. And occasionally they receive a pass on trick plays and stuff like that. Well, he screwed up on the trick plays and he screwed up on the running because he's a -2% there and a -0.7% there. So he's only an 8% overall because even if you got rid of these numbers, he's only a 17% anyway. Like his regular QB rating is not that great. So it lowers him on here, and that's actually accurate. believe it or not. So I don't want to correct this sheet here and do something with the quarterbacks, because technically he's probably the starter and he doesn't have a good rating. He's not supposed to. So you want to leave that in there. It's tough to start removing quarterbacks because some of these people might play. But one thing you can do, especially for like preseason week 3, is Jalen Hurts, even if he plays, is only going to play like a quarter or something. He's not going to play. So you can remove him from this list for the purposes of your preseason pick, because he's probably not playing. A lot of these number 1 guys are not going to be playing. Do you want to go through here and do this? You could, but here's the problem. It's still preseason. You actually don't know who's going to play. So you're just guessing. And while there's some benefit probably to do that, I'm not going to go tell you to bet a bunch on preseason and expect the algorithm to work correctly in preseason, which is why I'm doing these videos, and don't feel, like I'm giving away too much, because we don't know who's going to play. We don't know who's going to play. We're going to have a much better idea when cuts are over and we get an injury status for the start of the season. So all that being said, that means we're not going to go through every team and every player, but we are going to look at Monday night's game, because there it makes sense. We've got Washington and we've got Baltimore. Okay. So Washington and Baltimore. What do we see? We see I'm okay with the kickers. Quarterbacks are somewhat reasonable, but is Lamar going to be playing tonight? Probably not. I wouldn't risk Lamar in a preseason game, even though it's against Washington. If he plays, he probably plays a quarter. There's no way he's playing the whole game. No way. So let's remove him from the list. I know he's a huge contributor, but we're going to remove him because it doesn't make sense to have him in there. What about Washington? Washington quarterbacks, Sam Howell. Let's just look at quarterbacks for a second. Like this is your list when you're looking at fantasy for stuff. This is how valuable the file is. Sam Howell, Jacoby Brissett versus Tyler Huntley, and no real rating for these other QBs. So you are giving a better rating for Washington's quarterbacks because you're removing Lamar out of here, but I'm okay with that. You could apply something to one of these quarterbacks. But we're just going to let it go. So we know we're underestimating Baltimore's QBs because we removed Lamar, but we have to remove Lamar because if we leave him in here, look at what his rating is. His rating is 0.54. He is dramatically tipping this game toward Baltimore, but he will not be playing the whole game. So that for sure. So it's appropriate for a preseason prediction. Just because we're looking at one game tonight is the only reason I'm focusing on this, and it's a hometown game. It's going to be fun to watch. So let's just remove him, right? All right, now let's look at running backs. Well, Antonio Gibson, is he going to be playing a lot? Like any of these top guys are probably not going to be playing very much. So what do we do? Do we remove them? We could. I don't know, though. Wide receiver, Terry McLaurin. Like you're talking about minimal snaps in one quarter we might be seeing out of this, right? I'm tempted to remove McLaurin. He's a good player. I don't think he's going to be playing much. So we're going to remove him. Any really impactful players that we know are not going to be playing, probably a good idea. Is Curtis Samuel going to be playing? I don't know. Probably not, but we'll leave him in there. Do we remove anybody? Devin Duvernay going to play? I don't know. Aguilar? Probably not, but you can see the ratings on the receivers not as high. How about tight ends? Mark Andrews? I don't think Mark Andrews is going to play very much. Really impactful player. Let's remove him. Logan Thomas. I don't know. Probably not going to play either. Kickers already took care of. Running backs we took care of. Yeah, I don't think Antonio Gibson is going to be playing very much. Right? You could do something here. Let's move him. Let's assume he doesn't play. All right. Now, let's open up everybody again. So what we've just done is we've altered our projections for this game here in week 2. This is still week 2, so I think I'm right about pulling all of those players out. So what does that then do? Let me show you. As we go to the pick sheet, we have this Monday night game, which was originally to be a 19-18 game. Now it's going to be even worse. It's now 15-14. This is how you get these preseason games where they don't have a lot of points, is you see what happens when you move those players. Now, there are going to be other players playing, but you can see it's bringing this game under. And it says that Washington still barely does it, though. So the question is, what's the line on this game? Are there any, let's ask Google, whatever. What's the preseason line on the Commanders Ravens game for Monday night, August 21st? Yeah, oh gosh, I'll just go to a different source real quick. So basically, I think that the Commanders are going to be an underdog just because people think of Baltimore. The answer is, yeah, but they're only plus 110, right? The over-under is set at 37.5, which doesn't make a lot of sense with all those good players probably not playing. Even if we put them back in, ready? Let's put everybody back in. We just put everybody back in. I'll be able to undo that in a sec, but I just want to put everybody back in for a second to show you what the score is. It's only 1918, which is the 37. So are the odds makers using the algorithm to predict their scores? Just maybe. Maybe already. Well, that's what it says, but it does say it goes under because of people that don't play. So let's back up, undo, and refresh. And I believe it's going to go back. Yeah, 15-14. So that's more reasonable. So what the algorithm is telling you is that the under 37.5 is actually probably the most reliable bet for this game. Washington can somehow win and will barely pull it out, but there's not a lot of points in there for it. It's tough and it could clearly go either way, and it's a preseason game. So I will go with the under 37.5. And I'm tempted to go under lower to do an alternate under if they offer it. Do they offer it? Checking to see if they offer it. No, but just keep it simple. So they're supposed to hit the under because the player's not playing and the defenses and the way this game would go. Because even if the players were playing, they still only get to 37, and this is a preseason game. So that's what the algorithm is advising you to do for this game here on the preseason week 2 game. Well, what about all the preseason week 3 games? Okay, we've got those here too. And we've got abbreviated lineups for those teams we just had, for the players we just removed in here. And I'm tempted to just go through Baltimore real quick and put these guys back in for the preseason week 3 game. Same thing for Washington, because in preseason week 3, I think the starter does get in a little bit. So we'll just put him back because it's a different game. Right? So we did do that. Now we're going to refresh. And perfect. So what does it say here? It says the Eagles would annihilate the Colts. It says the Niners would beat the Chargers. It says the Saints will beat the Texans. Says the Broncos will beat the Rams, Packers over Seahawks, Ravens over Bucks. But yeah, that's an interesting game there for preseason. Commanders would beat the Bengals, Chiefs over Browns, Minnesota, Arizona. So see how it does all this? So keep in mind, we remove those duplicate kickers off teams like the Chargers and somebody else. And so this is better looking. And as the season starts and we go into like week 1, right? Because this is now what week 1 looks like. Of course, Green Bay needs a bunch of ratings for players, because if you look at the ratings for the Green Bay players, you're missing so much, right? When you open up Green Bay, you need to apply, like, look, they have like no quarterback rating. That's because Jordan Love didn't play a lot last year. So what do you do here? Like, you're not giving any rating to any of the other QBs that Green Bay has, and you're only giving a 0.19. Will he probably outplay that? Also, what's going on the rest of their team? Like, look at the rest of the positions. You know, you get that cool look of like, all right, we have no tight end on Green Bay. What? What do you mean we have no tight end? The answer is they're all new. It's Luke Musgrave, Austin Allen, and Tucker Kraft. And so when you're doing something like analyzing fantasy and stuff this year, boy, is this a real crapshoot. You got 3 people, we have no idea the entire tight ends situation. One of these guys is probably going to be good, but who knows, right? You got to be watching some of the games. So we can already tell that it's going to be difficult to get an accurate prediction on Green Bay for the first game of the season because of all these new guys. We got to apply something to them, and we will apply an average number to them eventually before the season starts so that we have something remotely accurate in there. It's going to be on the low end because they're new, but we are going to apply something to them so that we don't have weird stuff like this, like no tight ends showing up for Green Bay. Like you can look at all the teams and see where are their gross errors, right? Or where are we missing stuff? Anytime there's super low numbers in any of these categories, although quarterback can be explained, you can have a quarterback that throws too many interceptions and turnovers, and that can lower their rating to something that's not a positive number even. So that's understandable. But in the other positions, like clearly we're missing running backs on Minnesota, most likely. Most likely. Yeah, there's a few of them here, 2, maybe 3. We'll see. So I don't know. I just wanted to let you know this is kind of how it works and the predictions for the new week. And when you purchase this subscription, getting everything from me every week, you're getting all my work right up to the point where I send it to you. And it's why I end up sending usually multiple versions per week, because I'll send one right at the beginning after the week has ended, but you then need to get the injury report updated, which in this case involves importing these 4 depth chart sheets. You got to do that when you want to finalize and apply percentages to certain players. That's a step that you're going to end up doing, I think, on Saturday. When you have Sunday games, you're going to do it once before the Thursday game, and then you're going to do it again on Saturday. And when you do it on Saturday, you check to make sure all your override percentages are in the right place, and that the strings of these quarterbacks didn't change. You're going to relook at everything. So it takes a while. It's not an easy one to update, guys. This is why I charge the subscription for the season, and people buy it because it's a ton of work. And when you do it right, it's really helpful. Like what's going on in Vegas? Why are they scoring so many points in the preseason? Garoppolo, who's playing quarterback? Who's getting all these points for these guys? A lot of people working hard and trying out in Vegas, huh? You got, like Hollister has a 0 rating. It's weird. So we need to add some ratings in for the Raiders guys because they've been putting out more points. And you can see we're missing some stuff. Anyway, a lot going on, right? So as for this Monday night game here in preseason week 2, the under 37.5. And as you look at preseason week 3, which you're probably going to get another video out of me for preseason week 3 anyway. These games happen on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So there's a Thursday night game where the Eagles are supposed to crush it over the Colts, and Atlanta would beat the Steelers, who've been playing really well in the preseason as well. All right, guys, that's enough football. Just want to let you know I am working on it, and this is a way that you're going to prune the rosters to get them as accurate as possible for your projections, and it's going to help. It's going to help. All right, good luck. Mail your picks. Be winning.